Okay, we're back. Let's see. I've made some changes to the stream, so hopefully the quality is gonna be a bit better. Hold up. Yeah, hopefully the quality is gonna be a bit better on this one. I'm just gonna double check that. And also I want to be able to have the chat on the correct side, because right now it's a bit weird for me. I might just have the YouTube chat up, not gonna lie. Okay, yeah, I think that works. Okay, I have that. Let me just check so that the stream is actually working. Weird. Why is that the picture of the stream? What? Okay, I have that. Let me just check so that the stream is actually working. Okay. Wow, that it should not be the picture. Why is the picture of the stream my YouTube channel profile picture? It says that it's supposed to be the dev stream one, but that we had last stream, but apparently not. It probably just picks one later, and the profile picture is the one that it has for now. Okay, whatever, that works. I'll have to check in a bit and see if it works. Okay, so we left off with finishing this stuff right here, and now just check. I'll have to check in a bit and see if it works. Okay, nice. That's working. Okay. Yeah, we left off finishing these things right here, and now we're gonna get into actually putting the items and removing items from the hotbar UI that we created. So I've done a little bit of stuff, and I have created some new UI because I didn't really like the default Roblox UI. This is still something I'm probably gonna change later, but for now, it's better than what we had before. So for now, I think we're just gonna make it so that you can drag your items down to your hotbar, and that is a bit tricky, but we should get that done fairly easily by, let's see. Okay, are we connected with this? Yes, we are. Okay. I don't know if we're gonna get any viewers this stream, but last stream we got some viewers. We'll see. Okay, so basically what we want to do is when the player holds down on one of the items, it's going to like hop out of the inventory and then be at the player's cursor instead. And then I'm thinking we make it so that you can drag it down to the hotbar, and it's gonna like highlight one of these like clutter thingies, so you can see which one you're placing it into. Or if there's already an item, it's going to swap that slot in the inventory with the hotbar, and the thing that you're dragging is going to be set into that or swapped into that slot instead. So let's get started on that. I'm going to open up our hotbar slot. Actually, no, the inventory slot. Inventory item, that's what it's called. Yeah, so let's get it activated. Let's get a on mouse button 1 down. And then we somehow want to trigger some sort of holding system. So I'm thinking we go to our, let's see, do we have a service for inventory? We have an item client service. I guess we make a inventory client service as well. So inventory client service .load. There we go. And we create a service template. Call that inventory client service. There we go. And then we just make a method for inventory client service dot start dragging or start item dragging. Let's do self inventory client service and then the item key. Or should we do the item frame? Let's try with the item frame first. Let's print that for now, so we're just gonna print the item frame. Inside of the inventory item, we're gonna make a reference to our inventory client service, and then we're gonna do start item dragging, and then our item frame. So now when we, okay, we got an error here. The image button class doesn't have an event button called mouse. Oh, right. It's called mouse button one down, not on mouse button one down. There we go. So now, when we hold down, it's going to print out our template right there. Nice. So let's go ahead and do a clone. So we're gonna do a, actually we could just use the template actually. Or we do a local stored item frame equals item frame clone. And we do this. Let's make a, let's do one of these. We're gonna do a self._scope. It's gonna be fusion scoped. So that we're using some states for this. So self scope is fusion scoped. And we're gonna place that up here as well. And we're gonna say self._dragging item or item frame, actually let's call it dragging item frame equals self._scope value. We have an initial value of nil and we have that as a frame question mark. Have that as a value up here, and this is going to be a fusion.value nil item frame. We can just do this actually. There we go. So now we're gonna set. Let's actually go ahead and remove that, and we're gonna set the 2D item frame, and then we can make a function for stop item dragging, and we're just gonna set that to nil. Okay. So now let's make a self._, actually no. Yes, self._scope, and then observer. And then we're gonna observe self._dragging item frame. I think my cat was just at the door. Hold up just a second. My cat is here. Kitty. You come up. He's gonna be on the stream from now on. We'll see for how long, but he's here now. Okay. So we observe that, and we don't use a function. We will use a on change, and then we'll have the function. Oh, there he goes. We'll just try to lay him down so it doesn't disturb. Okay. Let's print peak, and we probably gotta use peak up here. So let's do local peak is fusion.peak. And then we peak the self.dragging item. And let's also have one more method down here. So we say user input service dot input ended connect function. If a0 dot user input type is mouse button 1, or it's a0 dot user input state equals enum dot user input state dot touch. Right now, user input type dot equals touch. Then we're going to stop dragging the item. So there we go. So now we should get that if we start holding in with this, we're going to get stone. And if we release, it's going to print nil. But if we just do it regularly and letting go, it's not going to print anything. Okay, great. So now we have the item frame. So we're going to do local item or dragging item, or let's just say item frame. Inventory item frame is this right here. And it's going to give out a frame question mark. We're going to say if, let's also do a cleanup, so local dragging trove, or should we do a scope? I think we're actually going to use both. So yes, let's do a self underscore trove is a trove.new. Oops. And that as well. Dragging trove is self trove extend. And we're going to do local dragging scope is self underscore scope inner scope. There we go. And then here we're going to do if not inventory item frame, then we're going to return. And also at the start here, we're going to clean and do cleanup on the scope and trove. And here we're going to do item inventory frame. Inventory frame. Or inventory item frame. Dot parent is going to be nil. Else, we're also going to save a local last inventory dragging frame. And we're going to set that at the end here. And then we're going to say if last inventory frame, then we're going to do last inventory frame dot parent is going to be equal to, and with our menu clients, do we have a get menu? Yes, we do. Let's do that. Hold up. Let me just put my phone on silent mode real quick. Okay. Parent is going to be menu client service get menu ID or get menu data, and then the inventory, and then dot instance, and then we're gonna find. So now we have this inventory. We're gonna find the contents folder. So wait for child contents, just like so. Okay. So now, ideally, we should be able to hold down on our stone it's gone. And if we let go, okay, we're getting an error here. Attempt to use a scope after it's being destroyed to do cleanup. Right, my cat is a bit under the table here. I don't know how he finds this comfortable, but oh well. Okay. Dragging scope. Do cleanup. Oh, yeah. It's because... Let's actually just keep the scope out of here for now. And just try that without the scope. So we're gonna hold down and we release the button, then it's gonna be put right there. And I do want to put it at the same position, so we're probably gonna save the order layout. Or something even easier that we can do instead of doing this and parenting it to nil, we can just say dot visible is false, and then we just have this visible set true instead. So now it's going to go to the same location that it was. Much easier than destroying. Okay, let's now make it actually appear at the player's cursor. So let's do this. I'm gonna do a dragging trove add, and then a run service dot heartbeat, connect a function to that. There we go. And now we're gonna get the mouse location exactly, and then get the viewport size, and then set the inventory item frame to that. And we're gonna do a clone, so local item frame clone, item frame drag clone. We're gonna do set the dragging trove add, and then the clone right there. Let's see if that works. And we need to parent this. So we need parent is going to be, and we should make a screen GUI here. So we're gonna do, let's actually, let's do, yeah, let's do self dot underscore scope, not value, new, and then a screen GUI. We're gonna name it inventory item dragging. We're gonna set the parent to the kitty. To the local player's player GUI. And set the display order. Actually, let's not go into that for now. And we're gonna say children, which fusion.children. Whoa. Equal to, and let's say a local or dragged frames, or dragging frames. It's going to be a self value on a table, and we have a table with a number pointing to a frame. And then here we're gonna say, also this we're gonna set to dragging frames. And then here we're gonna do local dragging frames state is peak that, and then table insert that, and then set it. So there we go. And we can actually hydrate this, so we can do a self underscore scope hydrate our target right there, and then we do a local position, which is going to be a dragging scope. So here's where the dragging scope comes in. Also, we want to not use soft.scope here, we want to use the dragging scope. And we're going to set this to blank up here. So we're going to set type of fusion scope, question mark. And here we're going to do cleanup. If dragging scope, cleanup. And here we're going to do dragging scope is a new scope. And then here we're going to do a value with a udem2.new. Just set that to 0 for now. Let's set this as a 100%, or without a question mark. Okay, so position is now going to go in here. So position is going to be position. And we're adding all that. Good. Let's test that out. Yeah. Let's do wait for child. Wait for child player GUI. Let's test that. Okay. So we start dragging. Get viewport size is not a valid member of user input service. Get viewport size. Was that the camera that you do it from? Or is that a screen GUI? Dragging screen GUI. I think you can actually hear my cat snoring right now. Get viewport size. How do I get the viewport size? Wait, is the stream off screen? Or like slightly off screen? Oh, it is. Oh God. Oh no. How long has it been like that? Okay, that should be better. Okay, should be fine. Screen size. What if we just ignore the screen size and we set this to and we just set this to mouse location.x and mouse location.y. Oh yeah, that could work actually. Let's test it out. Okay, so I'm not seeing a item. It is being parented here though. It's not positioning correctly though, so let's go ahead and remove this and replace just those two. It might actually be that we have to use it might actually also be that it's too small. Let's try setting the size to udem2 from scale and then like 0.1, 0.1. And then adding like a UI aspect ratio. Let's do a reference to that. Still not seeing it anywhere. Let's try removing the stop dragging so we can check where it actually is. And let's also print the dragging. Item frame drag clone. Let's print that. Okay. Okay. So let's double click that and check where it actually is. So it seems. Oh, it's invisible. That's why. Oh god. I'm a bit stupid. So this one, what I was gonna set visible is true, and let's set the scale to like 1515. And there seems to be some weird offset going on the position as well. There we go. So now it's following the cursor. Oh god. Kitty. He's itching himself. Let me put him over somewhere else. Real quick. Oh my god, why is the screen doing that? That's so annoying. Huh? Oh, okay, it was just the we'll be back screen. Okay. Just a second. Okay. Let me actually search that up. I'm not really sure why that's happening. Oh yeah, and we're gonna have that in progress. Roblox. Actually, let's try the AI here. Let's try the in-frame position. There seems to be some weird offset issue with the with the mouse location. Actually, let's try setting, before we do that, let's set the anchor point of this. So anchor point to 0.5, 0.5. Because maybe that was the issue? Okay, it's still under the cursor. And it still has a hover effect, which we don't want. Actually, we could just use that, but we would want it to be a bit further up. So let's do like on the Y here. Let's do minus 0.1 just to keep the offset. There we go. Seems to be working pretty well. So now I can drag stone and log out of the inventory. And we probably want to make it so that if you right click and hold, it's going to just grab one. But for now, we're just going to have this. It's pretty smooth. Let's make sure that this is over everything else. So we're going to say order, what's that called? Display order. Set that to like 2. Oh, let's zoom in. Oh my god. Okay. So now it should be over this, yeah. Okay. Let's now make it draggable down to these. So, how are we gonna do that? I think we're gonna check if the mouse position is under a certain Y height and it's between, like if it's under a certain height, then we know that we're like in the area of the hotbar, and then we can check on left and right between the actual hotbar slots to see which one that they're trying to drag it to. Let's do that. So let's do this. If mouse location dot y is less than, and let's say like, actually it would be greater than let's ask EIT, can you check if the mouse position by scale is lower, if the screen is lower than 80% of the screen. Let's try that. So let's print. Let's print that real quick. So now if you open up our inventory. Okay, but we want the opposite, so we want this. So now if the player drags it down here, we can see that it's seeing that. Okay, nice. Great, great, great. Now, let's get the hotbar frame. So we'll do hotbar slots or hotbar menu frame. Actually, what did we see up here? Right, hotbar menu frame is going to be menu client get menu from, and then the ID is going to be hotbar, and then dot instance. So now we're going to loop through these. Actually, let's do this. Local slots equals table. It's going to be a table with number pointing to frame. And that will be inside of bottom hotbar. Oh yeah, we need to tag this with menu. And also have the menu ID set to hotbar. And then we probably need an attribute to say start open. And then a boolean. Boom. Actually, one thing that I want to do is for the menu component, for the menu tag, we're not going to have shown set to false as default. We're going to set it to the menu.visible. That's what we're going to do. So, for example, the hotbar, we don't want that to hide. That's going to show from the start and not hide. So yeah, there we go. And now we're looking inside of its contents folder. So slot frame in hotbar menu frame, wait for child, contents, get show and do. if slot frame is a frame and slot frame has tag hotbar slot, I think that's what we named the, yes, then we're going to insert it into the slots. Based on absolute position and on X and the mouse position between the slots, the hotbar slots, can you make it so that we can detect what slot is closest to the cursor? Let's do that. Let's keep that. Let's print the closest slot. Let's actually make sure that we're naming these. I think we are though. Let's test this. Let's drag this down. And we can see slot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it is very responsive. Okay. Nice. Let's see what we're actually doing here. So absolute position, yeah. And the size, yes. Slot center, yeah. The position plus the size, yeah, it's the very center. Okay. The absolute and the mouse location. If it's less than the closest, okay, yeah. Alright. Yep, that should work very well. So let's now set the closest slot. We're gonna set to, actually, how should we do that? To make sure it's responsive. Let's do a attribute. Let's move this up here. Let's do local last closest slot, and we'll set that as a frame question mark. If last closest slot, then we're going to do last closest slot set attribute selected to false, else we're going to set the closest slot selected to true. And now let's close the others here. Let's go into our hotbar slot, and let's now observe this attribute. So I'm going to make a local selected, and then yeah, so we're gonna do soft underscore trove selected, and set that. Perfect. Let's then soft underscore scope hydrate, then the local, and let's see, we want the backdrop. So backdrop image label is going to be backdrop. We're just finding that inside the slot frame. We're going to hydrate that. We're going to do image color 3 is going to be compute selected, and a white color state and color 3 dot new 111 other way around. There we go. So now we should see that our things get highlighted, but they do not get unhighlighted. Last. Oh yeah, and let's actually just set it in here. Actually don't need that. Still no. Actually, what we can do, we can say else here. Select, set that to false. And we can get rid of the last selected. And we can actually just set this into one line. Set to distance is greater or equal to. So now we get rid of these 3 lines. And yeah. Let's test that out. Okay. What? I think it's because we have to set it to just this. Oh god. What am I doing? Okay. Set attribute selected. That's what we're looking for, yes. Distance is less than closest distance. Oh yeah, those are equal to. There we go. Okay, but still same issue. What? Weird. I'll actually see if it actually gets turned off. Yeah, okay, for some reason these still have selected on. What? Let's do this. So we'll set it to false every time. Oh, it might be that. No, that should work. Huh. This is so strange. Because we're looping through this every heartbeat. If we do this. That's so weird. I am very confused. Why is this the thing that I'm stuck on? This should be this most easiest thing. Let's do this. Can you make it so that these slots also get unselected, selected if they are the closest? Unselect all except the closest. That should be good then. Let's test it out. I mean, I feel like that's what I did, but yeah. Weird. Oh my god. That issue was so simple. Oh. I think we keep this though because it still unselects everything if we're not, yeah, so this should be good. But this could be simplified. We could just loop through everything before, and here we set selected to true, and before here we just set everything to false. That should also work. Apparently not. Huh? Okay, whatever, let's just do this. Yeah. So now we drag it down. We can see that it gets highlighted to the one that we put it at. And if we let go, it does not unhighlight. Okay. But if we do get over that, yeah, that works. Okay. Let's also do a drag. So to fix that, we're going to do a dragging scope or dragging trove add, and then a function. And we're just going to do 4 slots and then set selected to false. Nice. So now if we let go, it's going to get rid of that drag or that selected effect. Yes. Okay, nice. So now we actually want to apply the item to the item slot. So to do that, when we let's say we have a should we do a, let's put this into here. Yes, so we're into Dragon's Trove, add, and then this right here. And then we're gonna create a value for local closest slot. And then when we stop the item dragging, let's print the closest slot. So now, hopefully, it should, if we just let it go here, it's going to print nil. If we let it go here, it's going to print nil also. Let's not set that here. Set that to null. My cat's trying to get into the room again. I'm just gonna not let him. Okay, could not fetch. I think, oh no, is my Wi-Fi breaking? Okay, no, we're good. Okay, so if I put it there, it's gonna say slot 1. Put it there, slot 2. Put it there, slot 3, 4, 5, and 6. And if I just release it here, nothing's gonna happen. If I try to hover and then release, also nothing. And if I hover over this and then this, it should say 2. Yes. Okay, all of that is working great. So now, we're gonna say closest slot equals nil. And before we do that, we're gonna say closest slot, set attribute, and then the item key to the item drag clone get attribute item key. I think, right. Item inventory item. Set attribute item view key. Okay, item view key is what it is. And then the actually, before we do this, we want to check the server if we can actually put it in the hotbar. Or should we actually do that? I don't think that's actually something we need, because the only thing we need to check with the server is equipping items and also using items and consuming items, or dropping and picking up, of course. So let's just put it there, I guess. But then we need to actually send a message and say that we switch the item to the hotbar. So let's go ahead and create a, actually let's test this first. So let's have the hotbar slot. The item key, yes. Item key, get item. Okay. Let's test this first. So I'm going to drag this item down here and nothing happened. It says nil. Get attribute item view key. Oh. I guess it's just the item name then? Or of the actual frame? Let's try that. Let's do dot name because I forgot how I put in the ID. I think it should be this. Yeah, so now we got stone. Item key set to item key. It's a hotbar slot. We set the attribute, the item key, to that. Item key we set to the loaded item key. So let's do loaded item key. Set that right there. Oh yeah, and quantity. I was gonna set that as well. So closest slot, set attribute quantity, and inside the inventory menu, let's make sure that we set the attribute for, so we're gonna say item frame, set the attribute item key and quantity. There we go. That's what I wanted. Okay, and we can actually just to make sure we set the attribute of the item key. Oop. And then the quantity. There we go. Okay. So now, what? Hotbar slot 71. State quantity. Loaded quantity. To number. No. Let me try resetting my data real quick. Yeah, the stream is public. Okay. I was just about to say, okay. Let's remove that. Get over here. Okay, so number to nil. Hotbar slot 71. Something going on there. If loaded quantity, then. Let's make sure we have the correct stuff here as well. Like that. Not that. Okay. Let's pick up an item. And let's try to drag it down. Boom. Stone. So now we have stone there. Nice. Okay. And I can, for example, drag down log as well. Log. Drag down stone here. But now the thing is we can drag stone into all of our item slots, which should not be possible. And if you rejoin, nothing stays in your inventory or in our hotbar. So let's fix that real quick with server communication. Server communication. Inside of the hotbar, let's create a new file. Call it hotbar shared remotes, or it should be client remotes. And then we do a return table. We do local swap item to hotbar. Actually, should this be an inventory thing or a hotbar thing? Now I think about it. It's probably an inventory thing, actually. Let's make it a inventory frame, or inventory thing. So let's make another folder for inventory. Let's drag those remotes over there. Let's rename that to the inventory client remotes. And then we go ahead and remove that. And then we say local send or swap item to hotbar. I'm going to set that to a remote or a net remote event. Swap item to hotbar, there we go. And then we're going to go ahead and put that right there. Okay. So now, let's close the others here. Let's go ahead and do a inventory client remotes dot swap item, and then fire server, and then the item key. So item frame drag clone, and then get attributes item key, and then the quantity. So yes, the quantity. And we want the amount here in between as well. Hotbar slot index. Yes. So let's now go into the inventory server. Do we have that? We do not. So let's go ahead and create that. Inventory server service dot load. Let's create a service. Call this inventory server service. Boom. And let's connect to that remote event. So we're in this net remote event, or no, connect to swap item to hotbar. Swap item to hotbar function. We're going to get the player, which is going to be of type player, and then we're going to get the item key, which is going to, or item to swap key, or no, we'll just call it item key. String, or item, let's call it sending item key. String, and then a sending item quantity number. And then the receiving hotbar slot index, which is going to be a number. Perfect. Okay. And we're going to do some asserts here. So we're going to assert sending item, and type of sending item key is a string. And item shared config dot get item from the sending item key. Else we're going to say invalid sending item key. And then we're going to check if the player has this item and they have the amount that they want to send. So we're going to do local profile is going to be profile server service get profile for the player. But if not profile, then we're going to return simply. Else, yes, then we're going to get their inventory. If not, inventory. Actually, they will always have the inventory if they have their data loaded or their profile loaded, so that shouldn't have to worry about that. Let's move these just to make it a bit better looking. We're gonna do an assert or a assert, and we're gonna say inventory and, or let's say inventory and the item key, sending item key, and inventory sending item key is greater or equal to or receiving or sending item quantity. Yeah. Doesn't own item or invalid. Let's make a let's move this method over to the inventory server right here. Yes. There we go. And then here we're going to use the inventory client, or inventory service. Make sure that we are ordering this correctly. There we go. Okay, nice. So here, let's make another method for function remove clear item, the item key and item amounts, and that should be fairly straightforward for the autocorrect there. Yes, minus amount. If we're gonna check if it's less or equal to 0, then we're gonna set it to nil and then return the current value. Okay, nice. And then we're gonna remove the clear item and the sending item quantity, and then we are gonna go ahead and set that in their hotbar. Let's see, should we have that? I don't think we actually need to set this right here, because we're gonna sync that anyways. So yes, let's save that. And here I'm going to create a hotbar server service.load, and then we create a service template. I'm going to call it hotbar server service. And then inside of here, we're going to have a function for swap item to hotbar, the item key, item quantity, and hotbar index. Profile is get the profile. If not profile, then we're going to return. Yes. So is it inventory? Service. Oh no, the hotbar, and then swap that. We don't need to return true. And since we're doing a swap, we don't need to do the remove because we can handle it inside the hotbar. So and then we can add another method here, so function hotbar service, and then dot set hotbar item. And then the profile is get profile. If not profile, then return. I'm gonna update the hotbar. Current value, hotbar index equals that. Item key and quantity. Yes. Perfect. And here we're gonna say profile. I'm gonna say local current hotbar is profile, or no, the profile service. Get player hotbar, and that will always exist. Is current hotbar item is the item right there. If that is the case, so if we can find an item, then we're going to give the player the item with that key and the amount. Hold up, we are cycling here. So what we might actually do is just... Oh yeah, wait, hold up. We need to make sure and actually update this. So putting items and removing from the hotbar. Okay, that's what we're still doing. Okay. So removing an item. We might just make these as utilities for the inventory here. You know, the give item and remove item. Let's make those as utilities. So I'm gonna go into our systems and then create a folder called inventory.load. Or not inventory.load, just inventory. And then create a new file here, call it inventory server utilities. And then here, we'll return a blank table. We're gonna make these functions right here. I'm gonna say local. Yes, that. I'm gonna say local. Inventory server utilities. Boom, boom, boom. And we're not gonna require self. Not gonna require self. Exactly. Profile service. It's because this is a profile service. There we go. Okay. So give player item and remove player item is going to be the inventory server utilities dot, and let's have these with lowercase as well. There we go. Okay, nice. So now we should be able to use these. So inventory server utilities dot, or not here. Here is where we're gonna use that. So, yes, those and that. And server script service, boom. No more errors. Okay, so remove the player item from, well, no. This is going to give the player the item of the current hotbar item, and then we're gonna remove the sending item that we're sending, and then we're gonna set the toolbar item key, item quantity, and the hotbar slot index. Yes. Okay. That should be good. Now we need to sync this with the client. So hotbar client we do not have. We do have the hotbar menu though, which we're gonna use. So, okay. Actually, we're good here too. Let's test it out. Yeah. So let's drag this down. Put it there. We get an error. Get attribute closest. Oh yeah. Can't set that to nil. Right there. Let's set that down here. Let's try it now. So it got removed from my inventory, and I don't see it in the. Let's look at the data. Okay. At 1, we have a stone of quantity 1. So I think it's just that we're not setting this correctly inside of the hotbar menu. We are item key. Let's print the slot frame and then the slot data. Slot 1, item key stone, and it has item key set to stone. Oh, now it works. Okay, weird. It doesn't have a quantity. For some reason. Oh, item quantity, not that. Yes, item quantity. There we go. Okay, so now we have stone down there. Quantity is not showing though. And it's because it only shows if it's greater than 1. So if we, for example, go and set this to 2. Then it's going to show 2x. And the let's make sure that this is the viewport. We need that to work too. So same as for the inventory. Let's close others. Inventory item. So item view port is going to be item view. I'm going to do self to underscore scope observer for the item key on bind function. I'm going to say if item key. So let's do local item key state is peak need that as a variable. Fusion peak, and the item key. And then we're gonna do if item state, and item state is not equal to a string or a blank string, then else. And here we're gonna do item viewport, set attribute item view key to that, and then we're gonna do item viewport, add tag, item viewport, else we're gonna remove the tag. Okay, let's try that out. And there we go. It seems to be behind that though, which fairly easy to fix. This is going to be 2. These are going to be 3. This is going to be 4. Boom. Okay. So there we go. Now we have stone. And we can switch it out. Never mind. Nil with find first child. Inventory item. Interact button main. Is this on the... Inventory item. It might be that this is for the item that we're dragging and it gets destroyed. But that should just make it so the tag gets destroyed. Let's print the item frame. So here we have it. That's the log. If we put it down there, it's the stone. I think it has something to do with the give. What if we try to pick up an item? Definitely something there. Wait, no. Item service. That should be the utilities. There we go. Now we try to pick something up, like the log here. Okay, so that works. Nil with find first child. I think it's that it gets created but then removed. So it has to do something with this. Or no, it's a client thing. Yeah, so inventory client service. Here we stop the item dragging and we set this to nil, which will then, this will be nil, and if this is nil, then it's going to go in here. It's going to say if there's a last, then that. Else, it's going to clean up the dragging scope. It might be that I'm double doing that. That still shouldn't, no, that shouldn't be the case, no. Let's see if the AI can fix that. Although they will probably just set a check there, which is not very reliable. Let's see if the stream icon has changed. God damn, why is the quality so bad? Oh wait, no, never mind. Okay. Yeah, so it changes after a while, it just has the weird thingy. Yes. I think I'm actually gonna flip my camera because, let's see, flip vertically. No, not vertically. How do I flip horizontally? Hello? There we go. Okay. Hold up just a second there. Oh, that's how we get the chat. That is much better. And then maybe I can check the... Now I have the live chat right as where I want it to be. And then we can have this right here with the stream right there. If I need to check it. Okay, nice. Let's continue. And I can actually fix this. There we go. So boom and boom. There we go. So it must have to do something with the dragging frame that we are destroying. You know what? Let's just take the easy way here and go to the hotbar. Should we though? Clone. Because this is the one that gets deleted. It might be the one that's newly created. So let's do this. Inside the inventory item, we're instead gonna do wait for child main. Wow, all the tabs are messed up. Okay, the studio has an update, but we're not gonna do that now. Let's try dragging that down there now. Okay, yeah. Still not working. Wait for child main. And this doesn't seem to change the icon to the actual item you're dragging down there. So it's something that's getting the tag, but then does not. Is it because it's the one that's not parented? No, because that would error right away. Weird. Very weird. Let's try asking the chat here. So, when I swap an item from the inventory to the hotbar, I get this warning. Almost like a template is being created without a mainframe. Can you fix this? Let's try that. Okay. It's thinking. Checking how the inventory is updated when swapping. Yes. To get the inventory item tag. Loses its main child when hydrated. It might be that. Because we're hydrating inventory item frame clone, but no, we're hydrating the clone. So it would just mean the whole frame would get removed. Maybe we need to remove the tag before we clean up. Is that something we want to do? Maybe we're making inventory item robust. I think it's just gonna do like a if statement, which I guess that would work too. Yeah, that would fix the problem, and it wouldn't leave any memory leaks. Wow, it is thinking. Make inventory and defensive, skip setup when the frame has no main. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, removing the inventory item tag from the drag so the tag doesn't insert. Oh, okay. That makes sense, yes. Let's test that out. But yeah, this should fix the issue. So if I drag it down there, okay, yeah, yes, it does work. Okay, and now we need to update the icon down here as well. So swapping an item. Let's see, hotbar menu. Actually, no, it's the hotbar slot. There we go. Remove tag. Let's go ahead and do this. So that we always reset it. So now if we drag it down there, it's going to, okay. If we set it to stone, remove tag, item view, item viewport. Are we actually cleaning this up? Scope, get item model. We're adding that, yeah. Oh, it's because we do self_trove or trove, add function, and then we do label current karma is nil. Current that is used for returning objects. Oh, we can't. Maybe just set workspace.current karma. Oh, we're not observing the item key, so let's do the observe for that. So we're gonna do self._trove add view observer.observe attribute for the viewport. We're gonna check the item view key and then get the callback function right there. And we're gonna add this to here. And we're gonna do a local view trove equals self trove extend. And then we're gonna add this right here and this right there. I think we can just do that. If not new item key, then return, and we're going to do a local view scope is inner scope. Do cleanup, else we do view scope equals inner scope, and we can just set this to there we go. And then we're going to use that right there. Nice. So now hopefully this should model, view scope, new camera. Yeah. This should hopefully do it. So now we drag it down there. Still no. Wow. Okay. Item. Oh, right. Because we're setting item view key instead. There we go. Okay, finally. Boom. Still no. What? This one gets stone again for some reason. I'm dragging this down. Both become stone. Stone gets up there, what's correct. And this is still, if I pick up another log. Wait, no, that was dumb. What if we pick up another log? Another stone now. And then we drag this down there. Okay, so this doesn't change. That does not change. Hotbar. Hotbar slot. Or are we observing the index? We are. And we're observing the item key and the quantity and the selected. So now we have stone 4 on the first one. And if I drag this down here, okay, it doesn't update, like at all. Okay, so it must be an issue. Let's close all of these. Let's go to the hotbar server service. And then when we swap an item, we set the hotbar item, which is updating the hotbar. And we're returning. Update replicates fire client. Or we take hotbar menu. Yeah, we're observing the profile value for the hotbar. Let's print player key value right there. Let's drag this down. Boom. Yes. So hotbar gets 1 stone and 4, but the hotbar menu doesn't pick this up. Hotbar. Oh. Such a simple mistake. We were accidentally cleaning up the hotbar trove. So here we go. Now it works. Okay. Yes. Nice. And now we want to make it so that we actually want to make it able to put the item back into the inventory. And this will be by just right-clicking the item in the hotbar. Okay. So now, let's go to the hotbar slots. And do we have the, here we do. Okay, so let's say mouse button 2 click is a function. And then we're gonna do swap item to hotbar. And instead, actually, do we want that? Because it would be nice to be able to swap our items between our item slots. That would also be very nice. Let's do that actually. So if we do mouse button 2 down, then we're going to enter the dragging mode. So we're gonna do hotbar, or no, inventory, item service, or should we make a unique one for, no, we do the same one. Inventory client service. Oop. Start item dragging, and then our item frame, which is going to be the slot frame. But now the thing is, now we won't be able to drag these between these slots because we don't have it in our inventory. So we want to send a start item dragging. I think we actually want to do a unique one for our hotbar. So instead of doing this, I'm going to your hotbar client service, which we don't have, so let's create that. Hotbar client service dot below service. Let's call it hotbar client service. Let's see how long have we been streaming for? Where can I see that? The easiest way. Okay. So we've done about 2 hours now, and apparently this task was much bigger than I thought, and it will take some more time. Let's see, so I'm not hiding something now. Alright, we're good. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this back, and we're gonna set it to the 20th. And we're gonna send this over there too. This as well. Boom. So yeah, putting and removing items from hotbar turns out very hard, or not hard, but it takes a lot of time. Like the dragging and stuff needs to be correct. So yeah, we will continue with that next stream. Not any viewers this stream, but that's whatever. We will hopefully get some next time. Okay, that's it for this stream. Thank you so much for watching. If someone maybe popped in or something, or if someone's here right now and just isn't typing anything in chat, thank you for watching. We will be back